listening to the Lombardi Line on VSiN, featuring former NFL executive Michael Lombardi. Now, once again, here's Patrick Maher.
Lombardi Line presented by BetMGM here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. We're lucky. We have some great regular spots on the Lombardi Line. We got Mike Palm, of course, every Friday. Every Monday, we've got Mike Pritchard, who is a VSiN host, NFL insider. Michael does a great job, 8-year NFL vet. I said 7-year NFL vet. I shorted you. As we welcome you, first off,
closer to 10.
Yep. I'm sorry, Pritch. Don't hate me. Now, I wanted to ask you a question, and I want to get Michael's take on this as well. So we saw Tom Brady absolutely emasculate his offensive line. Just to be clear, that was in the final minute of the second quarter, so he could have done that in the locker room at the break. He does it on the field. I swear to you, Michael and Pritch, at one point I saw Brady look up and see the camera while he was yelling, and he went back to yelling. I digress. Pritch, how do you take that as a former player if somebody's going off on you like that?
I mean, considering where Tom Brady is in his career and how he's established himself as a GOAT, it's impressionable, to be honest with you guys. I mean, I think back at my own experiences and just being in awe of being in the same huddle with John Elway. It wasn't until I actually sat down with his father, Jack, and his mother, and we had dinner. We were out in Barcelona. We had dinner. I'm like, oh, this guy is just a football player like me, right? But I held him in such high regard. And I think that's going on with Tampa. I mean, you got some players out there, obviously not on the same level as Tom, but yet they're impressionable, right? And Tom is obviously the leader out there. But you also have guys, I believe, looking sideways at Tom in terms of being hypocritical, right? Here we are busting our tails, and yet, you're taking sabbaticals in training camp, and certainly you're going to weddings right before a big game for us. So they got to work things out. I think they need to close the door and hash this out as a team there in that locker room.
I think, look, offensive linemen are used to being yelled at, all right? That's kind of what goes with the territory. Right. You're always kind of they're like cattle. They're always getting prodded. There's always somebody, you got to move them to the next drill. They're used to it. They're smart. They're always pretty smart. They're kind of like, yeah, okay, I got it. But, I do think they're, look, let's face it. Brady went to Tampa so he could have Brady Enterprise. I mean, the Patriot way doesn't allow for Brady to do what he's been doing.
Right.
And I think Mike's make a great point. The guy's 45 years old. Guys in that locker room are 21. You got to kind of blend that. You can't yell and treat players the same way. They're not like you. I think that's one of the hardest things new coaches have to do is deal with that. I think that's really the challenge.
Is there a team right now, Pritch and Michael Lombardi? Michael, I'll start with you. Is there a team that's worse in the red zone? That's the problem for the Bucs right now, settling for field goals, right?
Well, I think, and I said this about Lamar. I think, Mike, this, quarterbacks, there's certain places on the field. They're like jump shooters in basketball. They love to throw the ball in certain places of the field. And so for Brady, it's always about having a tight end. Okay, I need Gronk. I need Edelman or Aaron Hernandez or slot receiver with quickness. And I need James White. I need Kevin Falk. I need James. Those, to me, if I were building a team around Brady, that's what I would have to have. Now, when you look at Tampa, they don't have that. They don't have a Gronk. They don't have any tight end, really. Cameron Brate got hurt. They don't have a slot receiver that can win and he can throw the ball to on third down and win in the red zone. And they don't have that nickel back. And so it's really not conducive to, they have Mike Evans, but Brady doesn't want to make a living throwing the ball outside the numbers. That's not who he is. He wants to throw the ball in the middle of the field. Same thing with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson wants to throw it in the middle. That's why Mark Andrews has all those catches. But when you don't give him enough guys in the middle of the field that can win one-on-one routes, then it becomes a problem.
Yeah, Michael, great point, because I agree with you 100% in terms of Brady not having that comfort level out there with the guys that he's playing with. I mean, it's different. There's a difference when you have a Gronk or a running back out of the backfield that you can throw the ball to, knowing how that can break down the defense that way too. I mean, Mike Evans is tremendous on the outside, but it has been different around Tom Brady. To answer your question, though, Patrick, I mean, I think Russell Wilson has been horrible in the red zone in terms of touchdowns.
Yeah,
I think the Broncos offense is ranked dead last, 32nd in terms of scoring touchdowns in the red zone. So Tom Brady, they do have a lot of work to do. I don't know where they find that comfort. I don't know if they move Mike Evans inside and allow him to do some things. I don't know if there's anybody on that roster that can emulate what Brady has been accustomed to and used to in that area of the field.
Let's dig deeper into this. Brady, he's 45. Michael Lombardi, I'll start with you, and we'll get to the Pritch on this. It's a team right now that's 3-3. I'll look ahead to next week, but how does a handicapper take kind of the vibes around Brady, him going off on the team, missing the pieces that you just mentioned, first year as far as Bulls there? What's moving forward the scenario for the Bucs?
Well, I think the one thing about Brady is he's a competitor, and next week's a new week, and I think whatever happened on Sunday at the heat of the moment is going to move forward. They're going to have to sit down and have like Aaron Rodgers said, we got to understand where we are. And I think that's there's a lot of teams. I think there's 10 teams 3-3 in the league right now. Well, there's going to be a couple of them that make it to the playoffs that get hot. Maybe one of them is going to win a Super Bowl. I don't know. But it's what they do between now and next week that's going to make a big difference. How we handle this, what adjustments we need to make, what do we need to work on, how do we get better? And now we know who we are as a team. We got to fix it. I think it's certainly doable. They got to get better on defense. I mean, they let Pittsburgh move the ball on them at the end of the game. They got to get better in the kicking game. It's just not all offense. But when you're 1 for 5 in the red zone like they were yesterday, that's going to show up.
Pritch, yeah, they're laying Tampa Bay's laying 10.5 at Carolina next week. Should be able to get right.
Yeah, they should be able to get right. But, this time of year, and you're seeing how the league is so wide open. I mean, there's two elite teams. There's Philly and Buffalo. And as a bettor, you kind of feel good about that situation or those situations, depending on the number, of course. But the rest of the league, and here's what's going on, guys. I mean, you got 30 teams that I'll take away someone like Carolina and maybe a couple others that really have no realistic chances of making to the playoffs. But the bulk of the league, they feel like it's wide open. And in the locker rooms across the league right now, you have coaches giving that message to the players. Say, look, we can get hot. We can find ourselves not only in a divisional race, but also in that playoff situation and maybe get through the playoffs. We just got to get hot like the Rams in Tampa has done the previous 2 years, and Tampa Bay is part of that. But I agree with Michael. I mean, Tom Brady is Tom Brady. They'll figure it out. I think Tampa, too, becomes better when the league becomes a matchup league as opposed to a scheme league that we're seeing right now. Because I do think Tom Brady and Tampa, they do have some favorable matchups later on in the year.
Mike's point's well taken, right? So, remember when they won the Super Bowl? I think it was after they were not good. They lost at home to Kansas City. That game was closer than the score really was, and they lost at home to the Rams. Remember that? The Rams came in there and beat them, and then all of a sudden they got hot in December and they got things turned around. I think, to me, the issue really is I don't think Brady's comfortable with the roster. I don't think he feels like, I know he wants Fournette to carry the ball, but I don't think he wants him to be his nickelback, and I think he misses a nickel guy. I think he misses Gronk. I think he misses that crafty guy to go in there and win the route that he could trust. Everything with Brady's trust. And I don't think, other than Godwin, I don't think he has an elite level of trust. I mean, they signed Julio, and Julio's been hurt for 5 weeks. I mean, was anybody surprised by that? I mean, it's great. Julio's back, but he's always hurt.
What's up with your boy Julio? Can't he get on the field there, Pritch? Come on now.
Hey, man, he's old. He's old. He is old. Hey, it happens to the best of us. And the thing is great player. But the hamstring situation, I mean, look at Keenan Allen. He can't even get on the field. I mean, you got the hamstring situation, and those things are just so bad for a guy that sprints each and every play. I think maybe the intention, too, was to preserve Julio for the playoffs if they could, but they need him now. I don't know if you can preserve him for the playoffs and hope that he's going to be ready to go by then.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, we got forget about preserving. We're not jams. We got to win. Right. The NFL's not a jam. We ain't putting you up on the shelf and kind of get you when grandmom's ready. We got to get it going here.
Yeah.
Jam. Hey, what I want to ask, it's interesting because the Packers offensively are struggling. What Michael always stresses, Pritch, and when we come back, I want to ask you about this because Belichick treats special teams equally to offense and defense. I'm curious with coaches you've had, the differences as to how they've approached special teams. Like you see a new guy in LaFleur there in Green Bay. His special teams have been a disaster since he got there, and that ultimately has really hindered this team. We saw it yesterday again. So we'll touch on that. Quickly, just in 30 seconds, Robbie Anderson to Arizona. What were your thoughts on the wide receiver getting traded there?
Well, I mean, it had to happen, guys. I mean, you can't coexist on the sideline when you're arguing with the coach, and then the coach feeling like he has to engage with you as well that way. So it had to happen.
Yeah, the best was Michael when Wilkes just dismissed him with the play card. He said, "You get to stepping. You get to stepping."
Right.
Okay, we do have a Monday night.
You think he was on the team plane? There's no way he was on the team plane home.
It would have been too awkward. I'm going to get you, the viewers, a play from Mike Pritchard and Michael Lombardi on Monday Night Football next.
Visit VSiN.com to get current odds, listen for free, find showtimes, and download VSiN sports betting podcasts.